Good afternoon, friends. I'm Dr. Ajay Shah, and we are bringing this another great live. I have a great guest today. So please stay tuned. Few seconds. I'm going to give you update on our page. We have now about 80,000 followers, pretty much from all over the world. About 20,000 followers from US. Uh, we are also on Instagram and on YouTube. So please reach out to our other social media channels also. My wife is doing this on a regular basis, healthy cooking recipes. So please look out for those also. So today's guest, Rick Scott, himself is a vegan, an animal activist, an avid hockey player who plays hockey 5 days per week, a great athlete, a great writer. Actually, I read some of his pieces, a leader, and actually a great coach to many vegan athletes. So let's welcome Rick. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dr. Ajay, and thank you for the kind introduction.
Yeah, you look so good, Rick. I think this is the power of being vegan, whole food, plant-based, and all our viewers and followers can see you on the screen. That how healthy you look. That's just amazing. So we definitely going to learn from you how to be healthy and how to like you. So that's great.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I
Please
appreciate that.
tell us where do you live and what kind of work you do?
I live in Marina Del Rey, California, which is right on the outskirts, I guess, of Los Angeles on the coast here. And professionally, I do public relations. Um, I work in music, sports, entertainment, and compassionate causes.
That's great. And where did you grow up and who influenced you in your childhood?
I grew up in Philadelphia, and I can't put my finger on one influence. I have probably hundreds. I mean, uh, you as somebody who has taught knows that teachers come in all forms and all shapes, and so I've been taught by many things, whether it's various people in my life, some relatives, some friends, some people who I don't know. I've always looked up to a lot of different people, whether they're athletes or entertainers, or today the common term is influencers. So and then sometimes life teaches you. So a myriad of influencers.
Yeah, and I think that's a great answer. I think the influences come from all shapes and size and from all sorts. And plus, I think, like you said, very right way, that our own life influences. And if we reflect on our life the way it's going, periodically, maybe once a week, even once a day, then I think life can become the best teacher for ourselves. So I agree with you. So the main question I have is, when did you become vegan, and what motivated you to do so?
Uh, I stopped eating animals 30 years ago. So I went vegetarian 30 years ago, and that just kind of happened organically. I was an endurance athlete at the time. I had gone from hockey player and to train for hockey. I ended up riding a bike. There's very similar muscle groups, a lot of crossover. Um, so I ended up becoming an endurance athlete. I started to race my bike, and then I left hockey behind for 23 years. But going back to that time frame, as a bicycle racer, as an endurance athlete, I was just eating pasta and vegetables every day and a protein shake. And then even though I grew up in a meat and potatoes household, I kind of drifted away and was just eating, I wasn't eating any meat. And I realized that I didn't miss it. And so that's why I say 30 years ago, I became vegetarian. Probably about 2 or 3 years into it, I kind of got the idea of, hey, let's go vegan. And this is probably like 1992, 93. Very different time frame. Right now, it's so much easier. The foods are so much better than back then. And plus, my mind is a lot more open. To be honest with you, Dr. Ajay, I didn't even know what quinoa was until about 11 years ago. And I didn't eat avocado. I didn't eat garbanzo beans. There's so many great protein sources today that I eat today. I just, my mind was just not open to back in 92, 93. And I realized that I was getting all of my protein primarily from, I mean, aside from like nuts and nut butters, but primarily I was getting my protein um, from supplements, eating protein bars, protein powder. And I realized that that was probably not very good. And so I kind of reincorporated some dairy products. I wasn't really drinking cow's milk, but I would occasionally eat cheese and yogurt or whatever. So there was still some, I put dairy back in. until about 5 years ago. And then 5 years ago, that moment was my dear friend and the founder of Switch for Good, the shirt I'm wearing today, Olympic medal winner Dotsie Pausch. She gave a TED talk 5 years ago, almost to the day. And that became my light switch moment where I just got rid of dairy completely. It was a combination of Dotsie's talk as well as a website that I'd gone to at the time called whatcodysaw.org. What Cody spelled C-O-D-Y. And Cody is somebody who went undercover at a fishery, at a pork plant, at a chicken place, at a cow facility. And once I learned the cruelty involved in factory farming, which I never knew, that's the way they want to keep it. They want to keep us in the dark. But once I knew, Dr. Aajay, I was done. It was just, as I say, I call it my light switch moment because I just flicked the switch and I was like, I'm done. I can no longer support this. I will no longer support it with my dollars. I will no longer do this to animals. And that changed my life right then and there.
Wow, that's impressive. And I agree with you. I think when you started becoming vegetarian and vegan, those times I think were much harder for people to go vegan and vegetarian. So I think it involved a lot of personal commitment and a lot of finding the products. And I think I agree. I think going to those protein powders and protein bars also is a form of processed food, even that they're vegan protein powders and protein bars. So I think, and I think I completely agree. I think many of our friends and many of our followers actually have become vegan, not just for the health reason, but matter of fact, for the animal suffering and cruelty. And I think that to me, I was telling Jane Elizabeth, our good friend, that actually that kind of reason to go vegan actually is even a bigger reason because a lot of us do for health, so it's for personal benefit. But when we do it for the benefit of other live beings, that's even a bigger cause. So I think for you, I think you just not did for your own health, but you did for the other live beings. So that's very commendable. So, that brings up the next topic, that being a vegan now, what are some of the health benefits you have realized being vegan compared to before you became vegetarian and vegan?
Uh, I'm going to tell you a story on that in a minute, but I do want to go back, if that's okay with you, because a couple of your questions that you just asked earlier, I want to address now. You talked about teachers and influencers, and it also relates to what you were just saying about being vegan for the health. There was a very important teaching moment in my life in 1994, and that was my father had a heart attack, and you as a cardiologist can relate to what I'm about to share with you. So he ended up having either triple or quadruple bypass surgery, and that frightened me because he was not much. He was actually the same age that I am now, basically, which is 55, and thankfully he survived and is okay today. But at the time, he took pretty good care of himself. He exercised regularly, and I was just like, wow, how did that happen? And why did that happen? And am I next? And when I looked, his father, my grandfather, fell over one day and died from a massive heart attack. He had had a stroke a couple years before, which is also connected to heart disease. And then my great-grandmother, my grandfather's mother, she had fallen over and died from a massive heart attack. And so I realized that there was this, right down my paternal line, it was, I'm next in line. And I decided I do not want my chest plate cracked. And I decided I needed to find another way to live. And so being vegetarian at the time, and then obviously now vegan for 5 years, it's much, much healthier as far as heart health goes. And so, like, when you just asked a question now about benefits, the fact that I know that I'm doing what I can to eat as healthy as possible to make sure that I do not get my chest plate cracked for a heart attack is important to me. So the long answer to your question, but there you
No,
go.
I think that's an excellent point you made. I think heart disease being number one killer, and if you look at the Seventh-day Adventist people right in your area, people who are vegan out of Seventh-day Adventists, not only they live long, but they're one of the lowest risk of heart disease and heart attack. And if you look at the Din Ornish data from 1990, right around when you became a vegetarian and vegan, the data clearly show that people who eat low fat a whole food plant-based diet, actually there are very good chance of even reversing heart disease. So I think being vegan definitely brings a lot of benefits, less saturated fat. Obviously, being vegan, there is no cholesterol because plants don't make cholesterol. So when you eat plant-based food, there is no cholesterol. So I think there are lots and lots of benefits, even benefits in terms of Alzheimer's disease, strokes, even diabetes. Even the vegan out of the Seventh-day Adventist group did not have diabetes as compared to people who ate meat, including the body mass index. Vegans typically, I'm talking about whole food plant-based vegan, not people who are eating French fries and Oreos, because that's vegan too. But whole food plant-based, no oil vegan, typically their body mass index is around 22 or 23, very lean, just like you are. So I think those are the benefits. We don't have to keep reminding people. Those are benefits proven for 30, 40 years in science, and probably for thousands of years. If you look at the people in Okinawa and many other blue zones, they predominantly eat plant-based food. So, but that brings a kind of a topic which many of our followers want to hear, that if you are an athlete and if you are burning a lot of calories like you do, Rick, how can a person achieve enough calories? Because typically when we eat a lot of vegetables and fruits, those are not very calorie dense food. Those have very low calories per pound. And if you are burning out 3, 4, 5,000 calories per day, how can you supplement staying whole food plant-based and still get adequate calories?
It's no problem for me, Dr. Ajay. The interesting thing that I've noticed over the years is, I mean, I'm always learning, I'm always growing, and I'm always seeking out new information and knowledge to help my performance, to aid my performance on the ice and everything. You referenced, you said some kind words about how I look and whatever else, but it's how I perform. Um, I'm on the ice 5 days a week, as you referenced. Normally with athletes who are 20, or they're elite college players. And as one said on the ice yesterday, he's like, I can't figure it out. This is the guy who I recently started skating with. I'm 35 years older than him, and he can't figure out why. And this is the guy who's playing college hockey in Division I, and he can't figure out why I'm tiring him out. That I can keep going and he can't. And it's like, it's how I train, but it's how I eat. It's how I recover. And I know that's something we're going to talk about today as well, recovery and everything. So there are a lot of different things. So when it comes to how I eat, again, when I was saying as an endurance athlete, I was eating, I mean, for decades, Dr. Ajay, I ate a massive plate of pasta with vegetables every night for dinner, every night. So massive amounts of calories and carbs. And what started happening even towards the end of my bicycle racing years is that I started eating lighter. It wasn't a choice. It just kind of happened naturally. And as I was gathering information on my diet and nutrition, especially over the last 5 years since I went vegan, my dinners now are a massive salad with a protein complement. It usually seitan in my choice, but it also I'll include avocado, hemp seeds, spinach. I usually sprinkle it with nutritional yeast, which is also has a lot of good protein in it, as well as B vitamins. So when you look at it, like there's a massive amount of protein I'm getting every night in my dinner, but it's considerably lighter. So one would think, like, wait, calorie dense foods, or where are they? But it just works. It just works. It's like if you eat, if you're making good choices, you're going to get everything that you need. And I don't starve myself in any way, shape, or form. And I give myself what it needs. I give my body what it needs in order to perform at a high level, and then to recover at a high level, so that way I can do it again the next day.
No, I think that those are excellent points. And I think if we remember what Brenda Davis, a great dietitian from Canada, says, that even as an athlete, have at least a pound of raw vegetables, pound of cooked vegetables, have 5 to 7 servings of fruits, and have about 2 tablespoons of flaxseed. And then on top of it, whatever your caloric needs are based on your, burning calories per day, if you are an athlete, add whole grain and add lots of nuts and add beans. And I think you'll be fine in terms of total caloric needs. And I think the basic thing, like you said, is having a salad every day. Actually, she recommends salad with a lunch and dinner both. And then you add your additional caloric dense food, but the micronutrient from salads and vegetables and fruits like must. You cannot pack calories with pasta and grain and then think that you'll be fine as an athlete. I think every athlete needs micronutrients. So I think you are doing probably much better than many of the athletes who pack the calorie from grain and nuts. I think we all need those vegetables and fruits as a base. So I think my next question to you is, a lot of this athlete, including our personal trainer, many times feels that we all need tons more protein than what is been recommended, in medicine. So, and many of them actually recommend animal-based protein, either eggs or meat or dairy or whatever. So, what is your opinion on whether Americans, do we get more protein than we should really take?
I'm not a doctor like you, so I can't. I don't want to speak on a medical level. But one of the things that really was enlightening to me in Dotsie's TEDx talk, which is called Olympic Level Compassion, by the way, in case any of your viewers want to watch it. Dotsie is the same weight as me, and although she's taller, I related to the fact when she talked about it in the talk, how she trained for the 2012 Olympics when she won a silver medal on a plant-based diet, and she was getting somewhere around 65 or so grams of protein per day, which was half the amount that I had been programmed into my head to get every day. And I just like, wait, that's possible? And you realize that it's not necessarily as much about how much protein you get per day, but it also relates to how many calories you get per day. And if you're getting enough calories, then you're going to get enough to build muscle and to recover and to repair your muscles from training in order to continue to grow and to do what you do. Yes, I've heard it said that Americans are getting too much protein. There's protein in so many of the vegetables and things that we eat that people aren't aware of. They just don't necessarily think about them as being a high protein source. And so they're getting too much protein. And again, you can speak probably better on the medical side of things, but from what I've been told, when your body takes in too much protein, number one, it's going to convert it to fat. Number two, it's going to work your liver. Your liver is trying to process that protein and it can't absorb it. And so what was said to me at one point, and I read something recently that kind of contradicted this, so maybe you have an opinion on this, but what I was told is based on somebody's body size, that they can only absorb a certain amount of protein per meal, per serving. So if you're somebody who says, oh, I'm going to drink a protein shake with 50 grams of protein, it's too much protein for your body to absorb in one hit, in which case you're then forcing your liver to work too much, and so it's going to store the excess protein as fat, and it's taxing on your liver and your system, your digestive system. So instead of recovering, you end up forcing your body to work harder to absorb it. And so I was taught that from a nutritionist just over about 10, 11 years ago. And so they actually, because my protein shake has about 40 or so grams of protein in it. So they were like, you're better off breaking your protein shake in half. Consume half the amount. Take 20 grams in at a time. And then just space it out. And that about an hour and a half or so is sufficient between doses of protein like that. So as I said, Dr. Ajay, I had recently read something where somebody said, no, that's not true. And now I'm not sure. So I don't know if you know.
Yeah,
is that true?
I think in general, most protein, as long as it's spaced out throughout the day, we will be okay. And I think any macronutrient, when you overstuff on it per meal, I think it's just going to turn into fat. I think the body has a certain ability to digest and metabolize certain macronutrients in a proper time. If you like, I read the same thing that if you have more than about 25 grams of protein, it may not get absorbed. It may not actually be metabolized properly and turned into a muscle, which is your eventual goal is. So I think, and I think I agree. In general, Americans get probably twice to three times more protein than what is recommended. And we know now people who eat more protein actually die much earlier than people who eat about 0.6 per pound of protein. And I think like for a person like my size, I don't need more than 65, 70 grams of protein, just like your friend. And I think we also know that animal-based protein stimulates the IGF-1, and IGF-1 actually was also shown to cause many cancers. So I think plant-based protein, you can get away if you take a little extra, but if your extra protein is coming from animal sources, you cannot get away. I think plant-based, if you eat 90, 100 grams, you probably would be okay. But I think in my opinion, protein probably should be the least important macronutrient, but we have actually made it into the most important macronutrient. I think carb, whole food, plant-based, complex carb should be the most important macronutrient. And the whole America is going carbophobic right now. Everybody wants to go away from the carb. And I think partly they are right. We need to go away from simple carb and sugars and candies and cakes and cookies, but we cannot go away from whole food, plant-based, complex carb. People who are in blue zone, people who live up to 100, their 70% calorie come from the carb and 15, 20% come from the fat, and actually only 10% calorie come from protein. And they live up to 100, they're very, very fit. They're not necessarily big muscular people. They don't carry big chunk of muscle in their body, but they live long. They're very healthy. They're very low a chance of heart disease and strokes and dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So I think protein definitely needs to be watched out. And I keep telling all my patients, including all our friends, that you don't have to worry about protein. If you eat a well-balanced diet, that means enough vegetables, fruits, grains, nuts, and seeds. Nature has a ratio of about 10% protein when you have a well-balanced diet. So if you're eating 2,000 calorie diet, that's 200 calorie from protein, and that's about 50 grams. So if, for example, if I'm eating 2,000 calorie diet, I will get 50 grams of protein if I just balance if I have all the ingredients of all different type of fruits and vegetables and beans and grains, my protein will be fine. I don't have to worry about like how much protein I'm getting. I think many people count their protein and they say I'm not getting enough protein. They supplement with powder and bars, and that's not necessary if you eat a balanced diet. So
Yeah,
the
well,
next question to you is, I think we talked about it partly, that if an athlete, many of our followers obviously want to start a whole food, plant-based, no oil or some oil lifestyle. Many of them are athletes. If a person wants to start and wants to start following what you are doing, what is the easy way for them to start from tomorrow?
that's a great question. I write a column each month that's published on the Jane Unchained news site. It's published on Switch for Good website. It's published at Vegan Magazine, and it's published on my own site, which is vibrantenergy.com. And I wrote a two-part column on how to transition into a plant-based diet. And I interviewed Dr. Cyrus Kambata of Mastering Diabetes. Somebody,
Yes.
you see you're nodding,
Yes.
maybe you've interviewed him. He
Yes.
gets around. And he shared a great concept, which I now repeat. And he explains it as walk into a plant-based diet. And the reason being, not everybody can, I mean, even though I describe my decision to go vegan from vegetarian as a light switch moment, meaning like I dropped it on the spot. And a lot of people can go cold turkey, if you will. But I remember I was already vegetarian for 25 years at that point. For people who are omnivores, who are eating meat and eating dairy products, it could be overwhelming. They've been eating a certain way for their entire life. And that might be 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, or more. And to all of a sudden have to relearn how to eat, it can be overwhelming. And so they often jump in with great anticipation and excitement and enthusiasm. And within a couple of weeks, they give up. It's too much at once. And so Dr. Kambata's process is walk into it, meaning For somebody, as you said, Dr. Ajay, who wants to start tomorrow, make this coming week, pick one meal that you're going to work on, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Pick one meal that you're going to work on and just work on that. It's the only thing. Eat the rest of the way your normal way that you've been eating for all this time. But now just work on, say, breakfast, and do that for a week. And then on week 2, pick a second meal. And now it's breakfast and lunch for the second week. And then the third week, dinner. Fourth week, your snacks, or whatever order that you want to do this. But take, say, maybe 4 weeks to transition into it. And Dr. Kambata was even so emphatic that he's like, I don't care if you need to take 6 months to transition into it. If that's what you need to take, do it. The idea is that when you make a transition, that you do it in a way that you're comfortable and it becomes a lasting transition. We don't want to have to show up in your office where you tell us our life is dependent on it, where if you don't switch, if you do not adopt a whole food plant-based diet, you're going to die. So
No,
walk into it.
Yeah, that's an excellent way of describing. Walk into it. I like it. I think I like Dr. Kambata very well. I listened to him many times, and I've seen his demonstration about how the diabetes happens. And he did a live demonstration inviting some of the guests from the audience. And I mean, he's just such a great speaker and such a smart person. So, but I agree. Walk into it. Start with one meal, and then take your time. I think don't overwhelm yourself. And I think, to be honest with you, I think when you start to feel better and better, you may speed up the process of going whole food plant-based. And I think let your experience guide you how you are feeling going whole food plant-based. After a whole food plant-based breakfast, if your next 4 hours goes better, then you know the lunch and dinner will do the same thing. So I think let your diet, let your choices guide you how good you are feeling. I can guarantee you, whenever I've tried my patients to go whole food plant-based, they only come back and say that why I did not do it a year ago or 5 years ago. I mean, they just regret that they did not do it before. So I think once people start doing it, in like 1 to 2 months, they will be a fan of it. They will be actually telling everybody about it. They're losing weight. They're sleeping better. I mean, they're just so, I think start slowly and build it up. And so my next question to you is, when it comes down to being an athlete, or for that sake, any person, what is the role of sleep and what is the role of recovery, being an athlete or being a person? Because we all need sleep and we all need those rest days when we are doing our physical training.
So the story that my mom tells is that when I was born, they had to dope me to make me sleep in the hospital. Before they even took me home, they were already giving me sleeping meds to make me sleep. So sleep is some coaches call it limiters. Every athlete has certain limiters. Sleep is just always been a struggle for me. And that goes through my maternal line, because my mom is the same way. Apparently my niece is the same way. My grandfather was the same way. So I'm always struggling to get more sleep. I'm going to reference Dotsie Boucher again. Dotsie is somebody who's always on me to make sure that I recover properly. And I do. I continue to learn how to recover properly. I spend a tremendous amount of time every day, because the idea, everything should be balanced, right? And we talk about push and pull. And so the harder you train, the harder you need to rest. And a lot of athletes have a hard time with that. You referenced our dear friend Jane, who I've teased because Jane does not take days off. And I explained to her that if you're an Olympian, if you're a pro athlete, if you're the greatest athlete in the world, every athlete needs a rest day. and a lot of people, Dotsie is one who often says to me, like, because I don't take one every week. I used to some years ago. I take a rest day every 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. Sometimes every week. I just listen to my body, and I listen to my body on how I'm feeling and when I'm recovering. So recovery gets into a lot of different methods, and I can also reference another teachable moment in that experience that I had in 1994 with my father's heart attack. That's when I got into my spiritual side and started following an Indian master and learning how to meditate, how to process stress better. Because again, I was looking at how did this happen to my father and how can I not be next? And I realized he's a type A personality, of which I am too, perfectionist. And I needed to learn a calmer way of living. And so when it comes to athletic recovery and everything, meditation, stress management are big parts of that. Stretching. I stretch twice every day. I use the foam roller twice a day. I'm big on taking Epsom salt baths and usually do that at the end of the night on hard training days. And lately, it's usually 5 or 6 days a week that I'm in an Epsom salt bath at night before bed, which helps me get ready for sleep and everything. So I spend a lot of time. I train hard every day, and then I recover hard every day. And obviously, whole food plant-based nutrition is a big part of recovery and everything as well. When you're eating whole food plant-based, you're minimizing processed foods, and therefore you're minimizing the amount of inflammation that you're creating in your body. You create a certain amount of inflammation every day as an athlete training and competing every day. So you want to minimize that as far as recovery goes.
Yeah, I think those are excellent points and great recommendations. And I think everybody has a different schedule how they recover. Some people recover with sleep. Some people recover with meditation. Some people recover with stretches. And I think we all need to do every technique, whatever works for us. And I think like you said, if a person eats a whole food plant-based diet, they tend to have a less inflammation, and exercise and being athlete itself is a big stimulant for inflammation. So if you have a multiple reasons for inflammation going, your recovery becomes just slower. And I think I've actually seen this device, which I'm wearing right now. It's called Whoop. I'm not even heard about it or not.
I
But
have.
yeah, Whoop is a device. Our son recommended it actually, and it gives you a recovery score. So I think now with the technology available, I'm not sure it's 100% accurate, but I know whenever I had a late night being on call, next day my recovery score was much lower. So there is a fair prediction whether you recovered or not. And next day I did not do my exercise because my body wasn't ready for it. So maybe your body can tell you the way you feel, the way your body aches and other things, but you can also invest into this kind of device, to see, particularly if you're an athlete. As I understand, this Whoop device has been used by many elite athletes, and they actually, because they are so kind of gung-ho on training every day, the coach tells them based on their Whoop score that no, today you're not going to train. Today you're going to just take it easy and just go for a walk or go for a swim, but you're not going to, train that hard like you do every day. So I think there are various ways of knowing whether you recovered or not. But recovery is the one where our muscle develops. We get our endurance. It's not during the training. So I think recovery and sleep probably is as important, if not more important, than the training itself. So that brings my next question. Many of our followers are actually on an older side. Many of them are about 65. Many of them are actually my patients for the town where I practice. Many of them always have a question that at their age, how can they start physical activity, which is very gentle, very slow start, and how can they gradually build it up?
Well, as they say, you never forget how to ride a bike. And one of the great things about riding a bike is that it is gentle in the body. Assuming you stay upright, you don't crash. It's super gentle in the body. People who have knee issues or whatever else, it's gentle in the body. It's also it's too gentle, if you will, on the bones. But for some people, they kind of need that also. But I'm a big proponent of hey, get on a bike and start riding. You mentioned going for walks, hiking, hike in the hills. Go hike on the hills. Whatever. You're keeping your heart rate down, but you're certainly exerting yourself. You're working yourself hard. So that's important. I'm also an advocate of lifting weights. It's super important as far as maintaining bone density, especially for anybody over age 40. I have been treated for osteoporosis, and that came as a result of actually being a bicycle racer and making the bike my primary form of exercise for a very long time. I mean, my frame is kind of small. I'm 5'5", 130 so pounds right now. And so I maybe was naturally kind of predisposed to it, but being that I was on the bike for so many decades, where the bike is actually supporting your bones, not your bones. So for somebody who runs or who lift weights, it's you're building your bone density or maintaining your bone density. So that's one of the benefits of me having gone back to hockey is that I'm banging my body around on the ice, and of course skating every day is like it. My bones are being forced to support my body, so it's made my bones stronger. But definitely some weight training. You could start light with some dumbbells. You could do a lot with body weight stuff. One of the things that I started doing with our Vibrant Energy page, which is vibrantenergy.com. If anybody wants to take a look, there's a whole section there on training videos. And I started producing them when we got locked in quarantine, because I realized that we were without gyms and people want to be active and want to stay fit. I know I do. Although I did lose some muscle during this time. I lost a few pounds from not lifting heavy weight, but I used body weight. So there's a lot of videos up on our vibrantenergy.com, which show body weight exercises, which I encourage for older people to do. Use your own body weight. Everybody knows what a push-up is, and that's a prime example of a body weight exercise. But there's a ton that you can do for your upper body, for your legs, that all involve body weight. A lot of times people have dumbbells. I had access to dumbbells. And then some people during quarantine got creative. They started using gallons of water, water jugs or laundry jugs, whatever, and are doing weightlifting with them. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to stay active and start using lighter weights, and then build up from there, as you say. That after a month of doing that, if you're doing some weight training 2-3 times a week. After a month of that, now you've conditioned your ligaments and your tendons to be able to support more weight. So then you can start increasing the amount that you're lifting, as well as the intensity and frequency.
No, I think those are excellent points. I think as we get older, weight training becomes very important part to maintain the muscle, prevent the diabetes, prevent the falls, prevent the osteoporosis. I think weight training is very important. I think weight training can be done with body weight, can be done with just simple dumbbells. And I saw some of your videos actually, and you also recommend to use rubber bands also. And I think that's very safe. You don't drop anything. It gives you enough resistance. Plus, you can always let go if you are not able to continue it. I think rubber bands is one of the easier and safer way even than dumbbells too. So I think I definitely recommend weight training for all my older patients above 65. Definitely some form of cardio. And I think your recommendation to do a bike, like a stationary bike at house, is probably one of the safest recommendation. You take your body weight off and you are biking, and you can put the resistance as much as you want, and can crank up your heart rate as much as you like. So I think some kind of a stationary bike or outdoor bike, if you are safe and if it's safe to do it. And then obviously some kind of stretches, like you said, stretching once or twice a day is very important as we get older, as our ligaments and joints get very stiff, and we need the stretching and some kind of yoga or flexibility training. So I think at any age, all those things are important, but even at older age, it becomes even more important to have a balance of cardio exercise, weight training, and some kind of flexibility and stretches training. So all three are very important. So that brings up next topic. That what do you think? Like we partly covered, but maybe you can repeat what some of the things you said. That right now all the gyms are closed and they may not open for some time. How can anybody at home be physically active, and how much activity per day they should be doing minimally, like how many minutes or so to stay fit and active and not lose any muscle mass?
Well, you're talking to somebody who trains usually about 4 hours a day, and I've lost 3 pounds of muscle mass, 4 as of today's weight. So, and maybe I can't answer that one super well, but granted, admittedly, part of it is that I also, during this quarantine, I've eaten cleaner. So part of the weight loss is because I've actually making some better choices and some cleaner choices. So there's that too. But as I said, I'm on the extreme side of things. So let's keep that in mind, and everybody should do what they can do and what they have time to do. But I'm a proponent of exercise 6 days a week. Ideally, you're doing cardio 4 to 6 days per week, and you're lifting weights at least two to three times per week. So, and look, I converted my living room into a gym during this whole little time frame that we were in with quarantine, and I can't say I converted it, but it's like, okay, I know how to move this table to a certain place and give myself more room and ample space. Also, it's summer, right? Get outside. I will say this, Dr. Ajay, I got stuck of being in the routine of just exercising here in my home too much. And it started to become depressing, and it started becoming arduous mentally to get myself inspired to do it. And one of the greatest things I did was go outside. I had been running stairs in our building here, running 5 flights of stairs. And I was like, once they reopened the hiking trails, just getting outside to run on the trails was like so invigorating mentally for me. And then I also ran on the beach because I was like, I want to see the ocean too. Because once the beaches were open, I was like, what? And I live right here in the marina. I was like, why am I not taking advantage of this? So it makes a huge difference. So especially now during this time of year, absolutely get outside as much as you can for exercise. So those things are important. And so yeah, ideally 6 days a week. But if you can only do five, then do five.
I think that's an excellent point you made that, work out at least 5 to 6 days a week. And as I understand from the science, that you don't need more than about 30 minutes of workout every day to stay healthy. I think if you want to be an athlete, you may need more training. But for the health part, you don't need more than truly 30 minutes, 5 to 6 times a week. And your point of getting out of the house is so critical. I think when the weather permits, and if it's safe to go outside, just go outside. Being in the sun, a lot of benefits being in the sun. Going out for a walk with your spouse or with your life partner or with a friend, doing some hiking on a trail or hiking on a hill. And I think swimming, if you have a lake nearby or ocean, I think those things actually, to be honest with you, are more fun than doing anything even at the gym. Particularly if you have a friend or a partner who can go out with you, I think it becomes almost like a social activity where you're walking in the sun. And I think you're talking and catching up on a social time and still getting your hours of walking and fun time per week. So I think I agree with you. I think going outside is the best piece of advice. I think you and I can give it to everybody, that don't just coop up in the house. Go outside as much as you can. Particularly if you're working from home right now. Uh, that brings us to a next question that I read about this company, which you partly mentioned, this Vibrant Energy. So please tell us about that company. What does it offer, and how can people join that program?
Great questions, and thank you for asking. It literally almost a year ago, I came home from the rink one day, and I got a phone call from a music industry colleague of mine named John Lennox. I'm giving a shout out to him now. And John told me, unbeknownst to me, and we knew each other for probably well over a decade, but barely. I mean, we weren't really in regular contact. And he was somebody who was inspired by my social media. And he said that he had gained weight and got out of shape, and were around the similar age range, 50s. And he said that he was inspired to lose 60 pounds and get in the best shape of his life. And he was like, let's create a platform to help and inspire others to do the same. And I was like, wow, that's great. I mean, you never know who's watching or paying attention. So John and I have created Vibrant Energy. And Vibrant Energy is the purpose with like getting into our mission. We're here to educate and to inspire people to become the healthiest you that you can become. And and to live a full and complete life. And that's being active. And so everything that we do, the content we create, everything, and put out there to people is to educate, to inspire, um, get people moving, help them change their lives and save their lives. And it's also saving lives of animals, and it's also saving the planet and the Earth's natural resources and everything as well. So Vibrant Energy is all about that. And right now, yes, we do have a website, vibrantenergy.com. And obviously we're on social media as well. And every day we're posting content that is designed to educate people on how to train, how to eat, how to recover, how to meditate and to relax and manage stress. And so that's what it's all about. And so that's how they can get involved right now. There are a lot of things that we look to do in the near future as well as long term. But yeah, that's a good starting point. Go to vibrantenergy.com or link up with us on social media and follow the content and be in touch and let us know how we can help educate and inspire you to change your life and live a full and complete life.
Yeah, I think Vibrant Energy, I've seen the site. I've been to the Facebook page also. I think it's one of the best site. I think it's updated pretty much every few hours. And so is it something people have to pay to be part of that group, or is it something people can come and just join and learn from you?
Right now, it's all free content. All free content as of right now. So, and yeah, by all means, go and consume. And thank you. The kind words on the website, that is all my partner, John. He amazes me. I mean, it looks great. I write and create a lot of the content and shoot the videos or whatever else, but what he has done on the website is just stellar. He makes us look professional.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's great. Now, I think to ask you the final question, as an athlete, somebody who is vegan now, somebody who actually has defeated the family history of heart disease, heart blockage, and heart attacks, what is your final message to all our listeners and followers that if you want to be healthy, if you want to prevent the number one killer, which is the heart disease, how can they do everything? I call it all the 6 pillars of healthy lifestyle. How can they do everything and still be working full time, being mom or dad, or being a caregiver, other things? How can they fit the healthy lifestyle like what you do in their day without getting overwhelmed?
As they say, you always have time for what you put first. So if you put your health first, you will have time for it. You have to make time for it. I remember early on, I don't know, maybe this is like 2000 or whatever else. Early 2001, I had drifted away. I wasn't training as much as I had in the past. I was not racing my bike, and I kind of realized that there's never going to be a perfect opportunity or a perfect day or a perfect time, that I just have to make it, and I have to build it into my life and not stop. And that's always been my philosophy with when it comes to training and athletics and how you eat and how you recover and manage stress and everything like that. It's like, build it into your life and do not stop. Jane Elizabeth is the perfect example. She's running 7 to 20 miles every day and will not take a rest day. So she's built it into her life. And I know one of the things that I share with Jane is that she gets it done. And that, even if that's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, she gets it done day in, day out. And so, like, that's what you have to do. You have to prioritize yourself. You have to prioritize yourself, because otherwise we're going to show up in your office and we're going to have no choice but to learn a different way to live. So.
No, that's an excellent point you made, that we have to set our priorities right. And I think being healthy, health is the new wealth, and being healthy is number one priority. And I think if you pay your dues and if you ration your time to stay healthy, which includes the healthy eating, physical activity, sleep, stress management, not having substance abuse and relationship, if you put those things, those 6 things as number one priority in your life, you will become a better spouse, you will become a better worker, you will become a better parent, So I think if a person is smart, put your time, put your resources, put your energy, put your thoughts into those six things, and everything else will just fall in place. So I think your piece of advice of prioritizing is the most important advice. So I really appreciate you coming on, Rick. I think we all learn from you. Obviously, you look great, and we all can follow your footsteps. And hopefully, many of our followers will visit your website and your Facebook page, and we'll learn from you. So thank you again, Rick.
Thank you, Dr. Ajay. Thank you for having me on, and I appreciate it. And yeah, absolutely. People can, if they can't always remember Rick Scott, or they can't remember Vibrant Energy, because sometimes it's Vibrant Energy, ENERGY, or Vibrant NRG. If they can't remember that, you can always look up the hashtag Vibrant NRG and my hashtag Vegan Hockey Player. On any social media, you can look up Vegan Hockey Player or Vibrant NRG and find us. So we're here to help.
Yep, great. Vibrant energy, vibrant energy. Thank you again, Rick.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ajay.
Thank you. Thank you.